Welcome. I'm Mayor Gary Sells, and with me today is Lori Donato, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture for the City of Revelstoke. Thanks for being here today, Lori. I appreciate that. Lori and I are talking about the Revelstoke Forum today and the results of the public consultation that took place this past spring and was just recently presented to Council. So Lori, I'm really excited to share the results of the public consultation with our audience, but before we get into that, can you briefly talk about what brought us to this point?
Sure, thank you. It was really about making a plan for the arena facility, and each year we go through the financial planning process and never really planning for the future of the forum. So
Right.
I think it was timely that we started having this conversation with the community and really engaging with them on how they saw the facility and raising awareness about the need to invest in the facility and what options we had, and really listening to what the community wanted to see moving forward. So that's really why we initiated the first phase of the public engagement session, was really to get feedback from the community and make them aware of the current situation.
Great. I appreciate that. I know that we've been talking about the arena for years because of concerns from engineers about the building. And so we've got that behind us as far as that knowledge. And I appreciate that you going out and getting that consultation to where we're at now. So Lori, for you, what stood out? Really what the public told us and how they see the future of the forum?
I think there were a couple of things that stood out for me. Mainly the overall theme during the public engagement sessions that we held was very consistent. There was a strong desire from the community to invest in a multiplex facility of some sort.
Right.
That came through loud and clear with all the meetings we had with the different user groups, as well as what we heard report through the survey submissions that we received. There was a lot of interest in flexibility and building something that would serve the greater needs of the community, not strictly an arena facility and a curling rink. So that was really a strong message that came through. And another thing that really stood out for me was the amount of community support for the curling facility. So 47% of the survey respondents had never visited the curling club, but yet it ranked in the top 3 for amenities to include in a multiplex. So I really think that speaks to the value that the community places on the curling facility and the ties to the community that facility has. So I think that was really interesting to me to know that.
Yeah, it's really good to know that. I know that those people that are involved in that facility or play curling, for example, were quite concerned that they were going to be left behind, and seeing that inclusion was important. Mm-hmm. And so what you've heard kind of mimics what most of council have heard on the street. And a lot of the people that I've talked to, I believe all of the people that I've talked to that wanted a new facility were basically saying what you're saying. If we're going to do anything, let's do a multiplex. Big concern is, how are we going to pay for it? And then there was the other side was, do we have to do anything? And we already know that we do,
Yes.
right? So so really, what are our next steps?
So I think we have a lot more work to do in fleshing out the next steps, but ideally we need to start developing a list of potential locations and narrowing that down so that we have some options to bring forward to the public and to council. So that'll be the first step, is we've kind of formed an internal working group where we'll evaluate a number of properties and determine whether or not they could be considered for a multiplex development of some sort. And then also forming a steering committee to act as an advisory body to council in making decisions and providing feedback and input during this next planning phase.
And so when you're talking about going out and looking for the place that this will go. There's all kinds of parameters with that. It's not just the physical space, but from an engineering look at that, is it possible to go there? So that's really what staff does. That's what your group will be doing, is looking at all of those options and then coming back with saying it's possible to go here. Yes, it will physically fit, but also from an engineering perspective, it'll work. And I really appreciate that, because that basically says to the community, listen, we've done a wholesome look at where this is going to go. We've heard from the community, we want it in the downtown core, we want it walking distance, all those sorts of things. But what you're doing now is really important to making sure that that decision is wholesome. And I bring that up so that when this comes to council, that the community will know that it's been vetted in many different ways, so that it's not just simplicity as far as, yep, it'll look good here, right?
Yeah, so we've come up with a list of criteria
Right.
that we'll use to evaluate different sites, and then we'll rank them to determine which sites are most suitable.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah, so we hope to have a range of options that'll come forward this fall.
Okay, thanks.
I think that was one of the things that came out in the survey as well. There was a lot of conversation around location, and I think 90% wanted it within walking distance, downtown, accessible. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but hopefully we can find something that works, and yeah, we'll go from there.
And I think that that wanting it downtown is we've heard that there's this ambiance that the forum has, and carrying that on so people can walk to it, so they can get to it. They don't want to lose what we've got in the existing forum when we switch over to a new building. And I really appreciate the work that you're putting in to get this done. A lot of work, and this is just the beginning. We're just going forward. So, anything you'd like to add, Lori?
I don't think so. I feel like the public really showed up and participated well, and it was great to see consistency in the theme. And yeah, I felt the user groups that we met with and had consultation with, they were very cognizant of costs, and really, they advocated for their needs, but they also advocated for the greater community as well.
Great.
Which was really interesting to see. Minor hockey was well aware of what their needs were, and they advocated for their needs, but they also mentioned figure skating's needs, also mentioned, the community's needs in wanting to see a climbing wall potentially in a multiplex facility. So they weren't just thinking about themselves, they were also thinking about the greater community and what they've heard on the street.
And that makes it all so much more encompassing when all those user groups are saying, hey, what's going to be the better for everyone? And I appreciate them coming to the table with that, and for all of the community that really came forward and said, hey, we want to give input on those things. I know we would have people stop us on the street, and I said, you really want to give formal input, complete the survey, do that sort of thing. And then we've got record of it, much better than just having that conversation. So I really appreciate those that have reached out to your group to say, hey, this is what we want. So good. All right, Lori, thank you for joining me today. I'm glad we have this information to share with the community. It really helps us understand what's important to our citizens and gives us some direction as we move forward. So thanks as well to our audience for listening in. Be sure to take a few minutes to watch our latest videos on the City Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram accounts. And thank you all for taking the time to look in and watch what we're doing. Thank you.